It's officially the NFL offseason, so you already know what that means. The rumor mill is going to be spinning, and you already know the San Francisco 49ers are going to be a focal point of the rumor mill. Wouldn't have it any other way. Literally could set your clock to these rumors. So what we're gonna do, obviously, I'm literally looking at Twitter right now. Brandon Aiyuk is one of the top trending topics on sports X, I should say. So we're just I haven't really given like a reaction to it, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to react to the rumors, the smoke. It's smoke season. That's literally what we do. We are smoke season veterans here. So you already know the vibes. And again, one of the most crucial elements in smoke season, and if you are at home, feel free to fashion one yourself. I have the OG. The OG, you need this at all costs. This will protect you from all the smoke, all the rumors, all the this, all the that, the talking, yapping, all of it. Get yourself one of these. You will be protected for the off season. It's tinfoil hat season, baby. You already know the dang vibes are going to react to all the smoke. Right now, let's get into it. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. Man, it's been like what? A week? Has it been 7 days of this off season? And man, all I can do is laugh because we understand what it is. This is not our first rodeo, ladies and gentlemen. We are off-season experts. In fact, we've helped pave the way for this off-season game, so we know the vibes. We know what it is. So that's why we also are going to be reacting to all these things. But we're also, it's kind of like a what's not like a welcome guide, but like an initiation into the off season. So we're going to kind of ease into it and kind of remind ourselves what the off season's about, how we're going to be involved in it, and how to kind of project out what this off season is going to look like. So that's why I always say, this is the OG tinfoil hat, man. We got holes. You see the SF Niners logo. This is the OG, triple OG, one of one tinfoil hat. So we're prepared, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want a perspective of this offseason through the lens of your double checking, triple checking to make sure, is this BS? Are they feeding me some BS? Is this some clickbait BS that we got cooking on? Or is there something real here? That's how we perceive offseason to be. And that's how it will always be. We are offseason veterans. So hopefully you guys can we can stick together through this offseason. I think that would be kind of one of the main elements of this, is that we can easily be divided by off-season conversations, off-season topics, off-season rumors. At the end of the day, whether we agree or disagree, the whole point of it is to go through this off-season and not rip each other to shreds. The hope is that we're going to go through this entire off-season without a single ounce of quarterback controversy, knocking on wood. But I think we all are in agreement that Brock is our guy. So we can hopefully check that off the list of because that has literally been our off season for the last 3-4 years. So it's a little bit different now. we're a little bit, we're shifting gears. And so now we're kind of back in this wide receiver trade scenario. Again, we have been here before. We've been here with Deebo Samuel. We have the blueprint. We understand what this offseason is going to be like. And again, if you're wondering, first of all, what are we even talking about? We're talking about this little piece put out by Dan Graziano, which, has got everyone talking. It's got Brandon Aiyuk trending and being a trending topic. He's now a hot button conversation. Not that he wasn't, since the Super Bowl has ended, but again, it's a Monday. You can set your clock to it. Someone's going to drop something on a Monday, and it's going to give us about a week to talk about it, dissect it. All right, let's do our trade. Let's do our mock trades. What does that look like? Who's interested? So this piece by Dan Graziano of ESPN just put out content for the entire week. So we got content for an entire week because of this. And it's basically Dan expressing what he believes the most likely outcome of this whole Brandon Aiyuk situation with the San Francisco 49ers. He had his 5th year option picked up, which means he's under contract next year. However, Brandon Aiyuk is only scheduled to get paid $14 million on that 5th year option. That is underpaid, saying it nicely. Severely underpaid for Brandon Aiyuk and what he brings to the table. Severely underpaid at 14. I think it was like 14.1. I think it is. So I think there's a real conversation to be had here. And so this is my reaction to it. This is my reaction to all of it. Is I am smart enough, just like you are, to understand that this is a business and we are in business times. So when we talk about business times, we got to take our fan hat, throw it away. We'll take our tinfoil hat, and we'll put on our CEO cap, and we'll start talking about this from a business sense, the business of football. So this is how it goes. Will Brandon Aiyuk play for the San Francisco 49ers next year on a non-guarantee? The contract is guaranteed, but no future guarantees in regards to future years, future money at $14 million. If I'm advising BA, I'm telling BA, don't step on the field. And I think if I'm advising the San Francisco 49ers, it's also like, well, can we expect Brandon to play for 14? Or is it time for a payday? And so I think that's where the two sides need to come together, obviously, is try to discern how you pay Brandon Aiyuk. And again, from the organizational standpoint, how do you pay Brandon? How do you pay everyone else? How do you make sure you got money for Brock coming up? How do you make sure you got money for Talanoa? The 49ers got guys to pay down the line. So it's not just BA. So there's two conversations to be had, one from an organizational standpoint, one from a BA standpoint. I think both want to get a deal done, right? I would assume. But at the end of the day, it's, you got to go where you are being paid. And so with this whole situation and how it's playing out, I think my reaction to it is this, because also this Dan Graziano, he also put out a report in November, uh, predicting that Brandon Aiyuk would get traded in the offseason. So again, are we surprised that Dan Graziano is saying the same thing at the very beginning of the offseason? No, we're not. We're not surprised. And so this is the thing with this whole situation. Is there a possibility that BA could be traded? Of course, there's a possibility that anything can happen. There's a possibility. I think of when Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch talk about it. I think John is either John or Kyle. They say like, if we ever get a good enough trade for one of each other, we'll trade each other. That's where they're at. They'll listen to offers. They'll listen to everything. Doesn't mean they're going to do it. So I think what we are in the middle of is what we've seen with Nick Bosa, what we've seen with George Kittle, what we've seen with Deebo Samuel. The San Francisco 49ers are notoriously a difficult negotiation, right? They're not just going to roll out the red carpet to get you paid. They're going to make you climb over they're going to make you climb over Everest. They're going to make you cross the Sahara Desert. They're going to make you jump through every hurdle imaginable, and they're going to push it all the way to the end. Typically, we've seen other things happen. Like Eric Armstead was a different case of that. He got paid, I think, around the combine, if I'm not mistaken. But what we've seen in recent memory is they will make you, they will stretch this. And for whatever reason, most likely it's a negotiation tactic. And but so the way that I'm looking at it, it's like both sides are just kind of like staring at each other, you know? They're just kind of like, who's going to make the first move? Both sides understand, like, I think what's wanted, what both sides looking for, and it's probably not in the range of where either side wants to be. So now it's like a reverse. They gotta work it back to be able to get something done. So I think with every situation that we have like this, I think both sides are going to keep all options open. And to be honest, I think that's best business for both sides. It would be best for the 49ers to keep their options available. It would be best for BA to keep his options available, because ultimately the assumption is BA wants to get paid as a number one. He wants to get featured as a number one. And we understand that Brandon Aiyuk is such a, what's the word? Impactful, such a important piece of this 49ers offense. Like, I can't think of breaking up Brandon Aiyuk and Brock Purdy and thinking that good things are going to happen because of that. I look at what Brock and what BA were able to build on this season, and I think they're scratching the surface. I mean, you look at what BA put in from a production standpoint this year. We already know he's a second team All Pro, but he became a second team All Pro while being tied 31st in the NFL with receptions, 75 receptions. That's tied for 31st. There are 32 teams in the NFL. He's tied for 31st in overall receptions. In total targets, he was 36th overall with 105. But with 1,342 receiving yards, he was 7th in the NFL overall in overall yards. That's pretty damn good. We talk about this offense being efficient, effective, those types of things. Uh, Why would you try to get rid of a player like that? Why would you try to get rid of a player who could take 36th overall in targets in the NFL and turn that into top 10 production? So, the way that I look at it is with Brandon Aiyuk, man, this dude's only going to get better. He's only going to continue to improve. He is at his peak, and this guy is ready to explode. This guy is a 1,700-yard wide receiver. This guy is an elite one, and you have a quarterback in Brock Purdy who you've got 1 year under his rookie contract where he doesn't count against the cap. How do you make this work? How do you make this work? We say run it back. I'm a true believer that the window is still open for the 49ers to return to the Super Bowl. I do not think that by any stretch of the imagination that they can't get back. Will it be challenging? Hell yeah. But they can get back. They got the squad. They got the dogs. They're going to have to retool and reload and hit on a couple guys in the draft and bring in some nice, effective, efficient free agents. They're going to have to retool, but they got the core. They got the core. They got the quarterback on the rookie deal. Take advantage. How do we take advantage? How do we keep these guys together? How do we keep BA here? And I think that's like the biggest question that, the 49ers have to answer is, okay, like, again, range of outcomes, thinking of all the different ways these things can be thought of, perceived, constructed, all of that. How can we, what's next? Well, what happens if they do trade BA? Again, ranges of outcomes. That's all we're doing. What are you getting for BA? I don't think a pick is enough. I don't. And again, this isn't anything on Kinlaw or anything. You guys know I'm a big fan of Kinlaw and really happy for Kinlaw, and I thought he had a phenomenal year. But again, it's also too, it's like you can take DeForest Buckner, trade him for the 12th overall pick, but that doesn't guarantee that you're getting a DeForest Buckner back, if that makes sense. And again, that's not a shot at Kinlaw or that situation. It's just an example. And for me, if you're just going to trade BA for a 1, that feels like an L. That feels like that wouldn't feel like good value on the 49er side of things. Like, I wouldn't be pleased at all by that. Losing BA and only getting a 1 back, wouldn't be pleased at all. So the 49ers have to ask themselves if they are seriously considering not paying Brandon Aiyuk and looking to trade him, what are you getting in return? What is it? It's got to be a player. I think you gotta get someone. You got to get someone that you know what you're getting. You can't gamble again. And there's no guarantee that any wide receiver that you're bringing in here is going to even come close to what Brandon Aiyuk has done at all. How long did it take BA to get up to speed? 4 years with Kyle. With Debo, it took until year 3 for it to really click. Dante Pettis didn't make it. Um, Trent Taylor didn't make it. Richie James didn't make it. Kendrick Bourne was solid. I think Kendrick Bourne was solid from the jump. He was a surprise. He leveraged his stuff into a big payday. Jawan came on at his own pace. So again, it's like you can't just assume Jalen Hurd. You can't just assume that you can go into the draft and you're just going to hit, because it's kind of been the opposite of that. It's like even when we have hit on Debo and we've hit on Aiyuk, it hasn't been right away. It's taken some time for development and things like that. So that's why I don't love the idea of like, okay, we're gonna throw around this idea of trading BA. Let's go get a first. No. And again, we're looking at this through multiple lenses, multiple perspectives. And right now we're in the front office perspective. We're in the front office perspective of, are we paying Aiyuk? Are we not paying Aiyuk? If we're not, what are we getting for him? What's acceptable? What's not acceptable? If I'm in the front office, I'm like, we are not trading BA for a 1. No, that's not, to me, that's not a conversation starter. That's a thanks, no thanks. And so I think also a part of this is to kind of like bring it back down. Let's straight up poll the chat. And we're going to keep it simple here. We're going to keep it very simple. Do you, as a 49er fan, want to see Brandon Aiyuk get traded? That's it. That's our first poll. As a fan of the San Francisco 49ers, do you want to see Brandon Aiyuk get traded? I already understand and see. Yep. Not one fan will say trade Brandon Aiyuk. Not even a thought process. Not even like a fan isn't going to like be like, BA, trade him for a 1. I could get my head. No. I don't see it. I don't see that happening for a fan. Now, I'm going to ask you another question. So we're going to pull you guys again. But this time, I want you to pretend like you're not a fan. I want you to pretend like you're running a multi-billion-dollar organization. You have a roster of 90, I would say currently right now, that you got to field and you got to get back. And again, this is a bit counterproductive, but I'm going to try it, see what happens. Let's say you're the GM. Let's say, and I want you to listen very closely to the wording. Would you consider trading Brandon Aiyuk? Not saying would you. I'm saying would you consider? Would you have conversations? Would you look at all the options? I want you to answer that question in the chat below. And again, this is going against the thought process of a fan. It's putting yourself in a business environment where you're dealing with assets. You're dealing where these names are showing up on a spreadsheet. They're not showing up like we see them. We don't where this is the time of the year where these names and numbers become spreadsheets with a number associated to it. So I think that's the world that we have to live in. And the reason why I'm posing this is to you is to just try to ground us. Is to try to ground us as a fan base as to these rumors. As a fan, hell no, we don't want to trade Brandon Aiyuk. Not even close. Not even up for consideration. Not going to happen. But if you look at it from a business perspective, you have to keep your options open. And that's for both sides. That's for BA and his team. That's for the 49ers and their team. They got to keep options open. So, my reaction to this is simple, honestly. I think right now, with where we are going, and again, it's a big week coming up. Next week is the NFL Scouting Combine. This is an event that I have frequented. I'm not even gonna try to say it. My brain doesn't even work. Been to the combine the last 2 years, and this is an event where I feel like the business of football really picks up. Um, the conversations, the agents, general managers, coaches, like this is where these guys get together in conference and really start talking about these things. So I think both sides are likely going into this week with options open. And that doesn't mean that it's over. It just means each side is going to look and try to get what's best for them. And so what does that mean? Conversations are going to be had. Things are going to happen. We'll probably get more rumors out of the combine. Guarantee. Set your clock. Set your watch. I bet we're going to get more rumors out of the combine. And so basically, this is how I'm perceiving it. This is how I'm looking at it. I think both sides are heading into this week. Options open. The hope is that my hope is, if I have to give you my personal thoughts on this, again, I'm trying to navigate like 13 different thought processes while having my own thought process on all of these types of things. Again, it's just how my brain works. My hope is that we pay BA. My hope is that nothing materializes. My hope is that BA is able to get the value that he knows he's worth confirmed by other teams. And on top of that, I'm low-key rooting for the 49ers not being able to get what they want. Like Deebo Samuel all over again. Like when Deebo, they were taking calls, they were looking into it. They got a couple offers. Jets offered something, wasn't enough. That is my hope. My hope is that nothing materializes, but both sides are able to determine worth and determine a worth that they both agree on and can come to a long-term agreement and get it done. And again, that's me. I'm Brad. I'm a fan of the 49ers. I'm a fan of Brandon Aiyuk. I'm a fan of both sides in this situation. So I want both sides to win. And I also understand it's business. It is rare. Sometimes it's rare that both sides win. That's my hope, though. My hope is that they can come to an agreement. My hope is that something works for both sides, and we're talking about Brandon Aiyuk running it back, and I'm hoping. I'm hoping. But again, not naive, and I don't think any of us should be, that we just have to be open and prepared, just like I think they're gonna be open and prepared to discuss all things. So, um, so at the end of the day, it sucks. This is one of the, like, the stressful times, um, of the off season is when we got contracts to negotiate and there just isn't a clear path. And again, you have to look at the Nick Bosa deal. I've never heard the 49ers openly talk about bringing a player back like they talked about with Nick Bosa, and Nick Bosa's holdout was crazy. So that again just should tell us that we need to be ready. We need to be ready for all outcomes. We have our favorable outcome. Our favorable outcome is BA getting paid, and we run it back. BA is a Niner for years to come. That's the favorable outcome for us as 49er fans. But there are other outcomes that exist, and we can't pretend like they don't exist. So I think for us to maneuver through this offseason is just understand that. It's just understand that it's business time, and business time means I got to go see how much I'm worth. I got to go see who's going to value me the most. The hope is it's the 49ers and there's a cohesion, both of them feel that way. But hey, this is a business. We're in the business time. And listen, Brandon held up his end of the bargain, man. He held up his end of the bargain, absolutely maximized his production underneath the circumstances of, not even really being the number one target. Like, I don't know. Do we call him the number one? He's like number 1.5, number 1.25. He's up there as, a top target, but they rotate so much. So it's stressful. I got super chats. I'm over here. Let me get some of these super chats while my brain tries to recoup from everything that I just talked about. Shazah says, "Bring back BA and JJ. See what happens later on." Hey man, I'm of the mindset that the cap is a myth. I know that the cap is real, but I also understand the cap can be manipulated, and we have one of the best at manipulating it. Parag Marate is a wizard when it comes to manipulating the cap, so that's why I really try not to fret too much about the cap. I think David Lombardi put out that the 49ers are expected to roll over upwards of 30 million in cap to next year. I think it was 31 million. I could be mistaken. But they're going to roll that cap over. So the 49ers will have money to play with. You extend BA. His cap hit doesn't have to hit against this year. You can backload it. You can do all these different types of things. Then you get into the restructures. So the 49ers can make money appear like that in regards to the cap. So I'm less concerned about that. I'm more concerned about continuity. I'm more concerned about keeping BA and Purdy locked in because I feel like they can continue to develop and grow. And, maybe, I don't know. I think there's untapped potential with Purdy and BA. I really do. I think there's I think there's another gear that those guys can go to where BA can get those 15, 1,600 yards. That is a potential. That is something that can happen. But it takes everyone working together to get that done. So that's the hope, man. That's really the hope. Haha says Brock and BA at their best could be a potential of Joe and Jerry or like Rob and Tom. Listen, man, like they have such a good rapport, man. I remember watching it throughout training camp. And again, it was one of the reasons why like I looked at Brock throughout training camp as being the best quarterback is because him and BA were in lockstep throughout training camp. And BA was having his, again, the last 2 seasons, Brandon Aiyuk has been the best player in 49ers training camp. And when Brock came back, him and BA, bro, in training camp, these dudes were unstoppable. And Brock wasn't connecting on everything deep. He was still trying to find his deep ball, which was to be expected. But you talking about anything over the middle, anything like we've seen them have their success, balling, dude. Balling. Brock would hit BA in between bracketed coverage. BA would make a little shake, dip, and go 50 yards up the right sideline. I just feel like there's so much more room for them to continue to grow. And again, it's like, a cautionary tale is like, okay, what if you go sign, what if Brandon Aiyuk gets traded to the Atlanta Falcons? I don't know. What if he gets traded to the Panthers? Like, okay, you get traded to the Panthers. You are the number 1 wide receiver. You get paid. But, there are some questions, with their quarterback. He's young. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, their quarterback. But what if he never materializes and you get stuck with the quarterback that busts and you get less production? So again, these are the things that I think about, and just like stay up late at night thinking about, because I'm a football degenerate. But it's like, man, I feel like there's another gear here with Purdy and Aiyuk, and I would love to see it happen. Lisa says Aiyuk for number 1 overall and get Luke McCaffrey. Number 1 overall. So that means we trade up. I mean, first of all, who has number 1? Is it the Bears? So you'd be trading Brandon Aiyuk number 1 to the Bears. And to be perfectly, I just saw this come across. Justin Field has reportedly unfollowed the Bears on social media. That's the point in the offseason we're at. That we're watching the socials. Justin Field has unfollowed the Bears on social because the Bears have the number 1 overall pick and reported to be interested in Caleb Williams. But again, man, if you're trading BA number 1, man, you could leverage. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. Not even close. Don't even think it would be a conversation. I would assume the Bears would laugh at the 49ers if they offered that up, because that number 1 pick is worth. It's one of the most valuable number 1 picks we've seen in a long time. Yeah, that's the most valuable we've seen probably since Andrew Luck came out. Probably. I could see Kittle getting traded before BA. I don't want to see that. I don't like that. I want to keep, I'm definitely biased. I want to keep Kittle here forever. That's my guy. Um, I would hate to see Kittle in another jersey. That would make me sick. Make me sick. That's my guy, though, man. That's my guy. I love Kittle. That would be tough. Justin says, I hope they pay BA and still draft Jacob Cowing to be another deep threat. Brock had some nice passes in the Super Bowl that were really well defended. Yeah, I would say that was one of my biggest takeaways. Was Trent McDuffie is really freaking good. That dude is good. He made a couple big time plays in that game. Um, McDuffie was in his Duffy. That's for sure. McDuffie came out of Washington, right? He was always a guy that I thought was good, but like I was like, oh, I apparently was not familiar with your game. Because McDuffie was in his Duffy. Got to give him credit. Got to give credit where credit is due. He made some plays that he probably shouldn't have made. He definitely made some plays. But you guys know me. I would love to keep BA, and I personally want, my guy last year was Demario Douglas. The whole, quicker than a hiccup. Get a guy, get the ball in his hands, little shake and bake, little cook you in a phone booth. My guy was Demario Douglas, 6th-round draft pick for the Patriots. Ended up finishing the year, I think, as their number 1 wide receiver. And I think Jacob Cowing, too, is kind of a guy who fits that mold, has the speed, has the yak, has the toughness, has the ability to go reach the ball at its highest point. He has the makings of a complete wide receiver. I want one of those guys too, though. It's like the third option to just be able to kind of. I know Kyle loves his big slots. I kind of want to see like what we could do with kind of a more traditional slot. Reincarnate Trent Taylor basically. With Brock, quick passes, get the ball out, let these guys make someone miss. Tough over the middle. That's why I would have loved Demario, man. Would have loved Demario with us. But Cowan could be a guy. There's a couple guys I got to start my draft prep for sure. I got to start my draft prep. I'm way behind. Full disclosure. Matthew says, keep Aiyuk in SF. Yeah, man. I don't think anyone wants to see Aiyuk go anywhere. I think that would be a tough day. I think that would be a real tough day. For me personally, it would be bittersweet, right? Because if BA gets what he deserves, then, I'll be over the moon for him. Because I really do like these players. I'm a Niner fan and all that stuff, but I think being a former player and someone who's played this game, I've always said it, and I've gotten some weird, pushback from people before. It's like I root for the players first. I'm a player guy. I don't know for sure because I haven't done it, but I do know how hard they work, and I do know how difficult this is, and I do know how much scrutiny they're under. So I've always been a player guy. I've always been big into the draft. So I get on my guys in that draft process. and then I just follow them around, and I just follow their careers. And I enjoy the players. Um, I enjoy the players quite a bit, but I want to keep, of course, I want to keep him around for sure. But at the end of the day, he's got to do what's best for him. He's got to do what's best for his family and what he thinks is right. And I'm always going to support players that need to do what they got to do, as long as they do it the right way. You know, I think there are players who've done it the wrong way. Um, that has definitely rubbed me the wrong way. But as long as you go about it the right way, then yeah, I get it. I get it. Ha says, I don't like how they use Kittle now. We get he can block, but I feel the 49ers forget he can catch too because he don't run many routes like he was doing in 2018 at 19. Can't remember which year it was. He broke the record in 2018 for receiving yards. So, yeah, I mean, Kittle's the only wide receiver in the NFL, or the only tight end in the NFL to eclipse 1,000 yards this season. So he's doing something right. I do agree that he is heavily used in the run game. But again, it's like that's why he's so important to the 49ers. He's so important. Their run game doesn't work without Kittle. It just doesn't. Um, it would have to be severely. It would have to be changed because he is a big impact uh, in that category. It would change the whole offense. And mine, Spicy Aponte at the combine. Oh, we got some things. We got some things cooking. Cannot confirm nor deny just yet, but we got some things cooking up. Geeker says, if you can choose a player on defense and offense to be a Niner for life besides Brock, who would you pick? Niner for life is meaning like I get them at their peak forever, or just they remain Niners for their whole season. If I can get that's a tough question. If I can get them at their peak forever, ooh, that's a tough question. That's a tough question because immediately my head goes to Trent Williams, but having peak CMC forever, that would be very interesting. Defensively, obviously having peak Bosa would be phenomenal. Peak Warner would be phenomenal. Peak Ward would be huge. Peak Hufanga. That's a tough one. Yeah, probably defense. I probably have to go Fred. Peak Fred. Offense, I think it would be a rock paper scissors between Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams. That would be interesting for sure. Good question. Ono says trade Aiyuk for Fashanu from Penn State. So that elite left tackle. So what do you kick him to right tackle until Trent retires? I don't know if I love that. I just feel like I'm not expecting the 49ers to make any splash moves on the offensive line, and I think that's a bummer for a lot of people to hear, but I just based on how I've tracked them over the years, I don't expect the 49ers to make a splash move on the O-line. Um, I just don't. I could I would love to be I would love to be wrong on that one. But I just don't see them making a splash move, and especially going and getting a left tackle, kicking him to right tackle. Um, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily see that. I mean, the player from Penn State, barely highly regarded. Raider Ryan says, a shout out to my beautiful fiance, Kendra Grasser. We got engaged at halftime on Super Bowl Sunday. Antonio Pierce and Raiders would take Ayuk. Well, congratulations, first of all, on your engagement. Um, Interesting that a Raider fan would and would propose in the middle of a Chiefs Niners game, your two biggest rivals, playing in the Super Bowl in your stadium. Interesting choice. Not judging you. Congratulations. That's awesome. I'm assuming she said yes. Uh, but I'm sure you would take Ayuk, but what are you giving back? You giving Max Crosby? You trading Max Crosby for Ayuk? What are you giving up? I don't want just picks. I don't want picks. To be fair, I would rather have Brandon Aiyuk than Devontae Adams, which that might hit someone's ears and be like, "Oh, that's crazy," but it's not. I don't think that's crazy at all. I would much rather have Brandon Aiyuk right now than I would Devontae Adams, and that's not a slight or shot at Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams is still one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. But if we're building a roster, if we're building long term, I'm keeping Ayuk. Plus, plus Adams is cash out, man. You're talking about money problems. Adams is making bank. So I'm keeping BA. That's an easy decision for me. So what would you give? You give him Max Crosby? You give us Crosby and Jacobs? Do you know if there was any desire to coach from Bowman before his hire by LA? And do you think he will do a good job? I don't know what his motivations were to coach prior. Um, but I mean, you again, one of the things when you bring on a new head coach and you bring on a new staff, you bring people that you trust, you got relationships with. So not surprised that Harbaugh is bringing in guys that he knows, guys that he's familiar with. Not surprised at all. Justin says, I'm no online expert, but I really liked the Washington tackle Rosengarten and Oregon center Powers Johnson after watching the Senior Bowl practices. Yeah, I got to catch up, man. I got to catch up. I'm wiped out after last week. I am not going to lie to you. I am wiped. I took this weekend and I was like, I didn't post anything on Sunday. Um, Yeah, just needed a mental health break for a second. Gonna let things settle a little bit. But I gotta. I mean, I think the combine should reinvigorate the draft juices. But yeah, to be honest, I haven't watched either of those guys. I've heard about both of these guys. I haven't watched them yet. But I'll try to get a scouting report one of these days. I got to hunker down and just start watching tape, getting up to speed of these college prospects. Cuz it's that time. It's that time again. But again, the big point of emphasis is draft, free agency, possible trades. We are full fledged in the business of building out the roster right now. So free agents, re-signing guys, letting guys walk, potential trades, um, all that stuff. It's all in play. It's all in play. Draft evaluation, all that stuff. Uh, Geeker says, "What's the Super Bowl loss that you took the hardest? And if you could change the past, what team of the last three would you choose to win it?" Wow, that's a great question. I honestly thought that nothing would ever be worse than the 2012 Super Bowl loss because we said, "Oh, look, there's a touchdown we need to win. We have the best offensive line in football. We are a run first powerhouse downhill team. Let's throw four fades." That like PTSD was like that pain, and that was like my first Super Bowl loss as a fan, and so it was that one hit super hard, and that pain hit. Mm. And I even heard Jim Harbaugh say, "Oh, if we could have a do over, we would have ran it." Thanks, Jim. Thank you, Jim. Yes, yes, we all know you should have ran it. 2019 was a great year, but I felt like I was still numb to the 2012 season. So the 2019 did not hurt nearly as bad as the 2012. But this pain feels like it's lasting longer. I don't know. It I feel like why this one hurts the most is because we should have won it. And everything since that game has ended has been a reminder of why we should have won it. And I think that's been really challenging to deal with. Um, if I had to change it, I would probably pick them to win this last one. I think I would. I think for me personally, just for me, I think it would have made I think it would have been redemption for the other two losses. It would have made that like PTSD go away. Because we would have had redemption. It would have been against the Chiefs. Would have got that monkey off our back. Um, would have won with Purdy. Would have won with that core, that locker room. Um, that was a part of the 2019 loss, so it had been kind of like a correction. I would have picked this last one for sure. I would have picked this last one. So that's a tough one though. That was a tough one. That was yeah, this last one was tough. Also, too, it's like I think personally, like, covering the 49ers is my job. It wasn't my job in 2019. It wasn't my job in 2012. Uh 2012 I was just a fan. In 2019 I'd had an Instagram and Twitter and, Facebook page, this SF Niners brand for a couple years. It was still a hobby. But now it's my job. And so the win would have done amazing things, for me as a fan. Also would have done amazing things for me from a from my job perspective. Um, now it's like, all right, I need a break. I need a, I need to go on vacation from the 49ers. So, but hey, the show goes on. We get after it. Draft Brandon Rice and Frank Gore Jr. Yeah, we're going all OG 49ers, bringing back the bloodlines, bringing the bloodlines back. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if the 49ers do go after any of those. Honestly, I could see Frank Gore Jr. being on this team. I don't know where he's projected to go. I think he's projected to go at the later half of the draft. He's a tough downhill runner. And I could see the 49ers getting to that 6th, 7th round, and you get Frank Gore in that draft room. Like, come on, man, let's do it. Let's do it. I would say Brandon Rice is kind of like round 3 through 5 right now. I got to do more research on him. I got to study. I'm not super familiar with his game. I have like a high level traits pool. But just kind of based on what I've seen, just really quickly, he looks go anywhere 3 through 5, maybe more 4 through 5. So we'll see. You got McCaffrey as well. Yeah, got McCaffrey as well. So it's gonna be interesting. So hopefully this is and to kind of put a bow on the whole Brandon Aiyuk thing, because I would imagine this is going to be discussed for the next week, and then I guarantee you we're going to hear some unnamed sources. We're going to hear some unnamed sources drop some reports that they've heard from the combine. That's just kind of feels like what's next. It just kind of feels like where we're headed. We're headed towards the sources game during and after the combine, and so we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes, but yeah, get prepared, get ready for it. So, my hope is BA's here to stay, but also I hope he gets what he deserves. And that's really all that's all it comes down to. I hope BA stays, but I also gets what he deserves. And whatever that looks like at the end of the day, That's what it looks like. So we'll see. We'll see. But just remember, guys, we are a hot button fan base that is absolutely destroyed after a tough Super Bowl loss. And we are ripe for the clickbaiting. So just keep that in mind. With the reports, we gonna have some money. So we're gonna be tied to a lot of things. We're gonna be tied to a lot of rumors. We're gonna be tied to it's just one of those off seasons. My biggest hope is that we stay out of the quarterback controversy game. And as long as we can do that, I think we'll be able to be okay. We'll be able to survive this offseason. If you add the layer of quarterback controversy on top of it, whew, it's going to be a tough one. But hopefully we get out of this all right. And again, we've been here before. We know that these contract negotiations are the furthest thing from smooth. So what we got to do is we got to be patient. And we got to see how this all plays out. I don't think there's any clear path one way or the other. I would say anyone who believes there is probably just talking. So we'll see. We'll see. I think both sides are keeping things close to the vest, which they should. I think both sides are exploring all options, which they should. And the hope is at the end of the day, they come together, get something done. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I'm going to begin back in the swing of things, post some more videos. I only got one up today and then just the one live, but we should be back to regular scheduled programming here coming up. Like I said, got to get into the draft, got to start having to put our GM cap on and really start figuring out how we rebuild this roster so we can get back to the Super Bowl. I know it's still fresh. I know it still hurts. I know we're all in pain. But hey, man, hopefully some of this offseason stuff can keep our mind off of, what happened last weekend or last week. And we just keep moving forward. And we do our best. We do our best to put a brave face on and just keep moving forward. That's all we got to do right now. So appreciate every one of you guys. Thank you guys so much for tapping in. And of course, I appreciate you guys tapping in for, sticking with me through the offseason. Again, I know it can be very challenging right now to ingest and do 49er stuff. So I appreciate you guys. I really do. I appreciate you. I know it's challenging. I know it's difficult. But again, every time you guys you watch, you sub, helps me a ton. So I really do appreciate it. Grab your cookies on the way out. If you guys stayed the whole time, if you haven't, who cares? Just grab some cookies anyways. You deserve them. Appreciate you all as always. And we'll be back tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow to talk more Niners ball. And I guarantee you something's going to pop up for sure. So appreciate you all. I'm out of here for now. Got to go to Costco. Let's go. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to